So to give you a little background about what the problem is here, 3 weeks ago, and probably a little more than 3 weeks ago, the car started making a kind of a grinding sound, kind of a loud grinding sound that just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Doing some Google searches, found that the likely cause was the pulley clutching mechanism within the alternator. And then I was actually on the way to work today, and the battery light came on, and so I've had that experience in the past. And the battery light will stay on for a little bit, and then your car doesn't work anymore. So went over to the Advanced Auto, got an alternator. We're going to try and put it in tonight. So most people, who are online claim to be experts, or actually are experts, who are doing videos like this. But I'm going to give you the perspective of somebody who, may not really know what they're doing. So anyway, let's have some fun. So I've actually changed an alternator before, so this isn't a job that's unfamiliar to me. But I've changed it on vehicles that have the alternator basically sitting right here, where you just unhook the serpentine belt, a couple bolts, little clip for the power, and then you're done. Chrysler has designed this so that the alternator is way down there somewhere, and you can't get it up this way, and you can't get it out the bottom of the engine either. You have to take apart the air compressor to the AC, as well as take the tire off, as well as take some of the wheel well off. So thank you, Chrysler. Anyway, we'll get started. Actually doesn't look like it's too bad a job, so let's see what we can do. So step one is we're gonna have to remove the power from the battery. So Chrysler's conveniently placed the battery way down in there somewhere by the wheel well. So what we can do is we can use the wires here. We can just disconnect them here. So step one, we've taken off the cover, and we've unscrewed it there. And of course, the first thing that we've done is we've dropped that 15 millimeter bolt down in the engine there. But we luckily have our needle nose pliers to get that out, so that's not such a big deal. Where do we want to put this? Yeah, we can put this over here. How about that? Just get it out of the way. And now we can take. See, there are these two wires being bolted together there. We just removed the two of them there like that. That keeps them out of contact, and that should do what we need it to do. Should note that you definitely don't want those wires to touch each other or to touch a ground. That would be bad for things here. Okay, so that's good. Some people might wrap them up with electrical tape, but I'm in short supply right now. So the next thing that we have to do is we need to remove this serpentine belt. So flashlight here, down in there. So not this guy right here, not that second pulley down there, but the third pulley down there is actually the tensioner pulley. The tensioner pulley is the one that that puts tension, strangely enough, on the belt, so that that it can wrap around all the components there and make power with the alternator. Run your air conditioner, run your water pump's down there somewhere. But anyway, so let's we're going to get something, a wrench here to turn that pulley and to remove the belt there. The other thing is, you probably want to take a look at how this belt wraps around everything. So because you got to put it back on. Right. And there, with a little bit of work, using the not even a long socket wrench, but a socket wrench, I'm able to go ahead and pull out the serpentine belt here. So no you know, that's not a big job. They do have some kits. You'll see it either at a Sears or auto parts store or something to change your serpentine belts. They work, but they are also not necessary. So we'll just throw that over in a box here. Now we can get to it. So you know, step now is to get to the alternator, which is down there at the bottom. So we're gonna jack up the car here and take the tire off, the wheel off, and then we'll take a look down there. I forgot to tell you, before you start with that serpentine belt, there's a little hose here. It's the antifreeze coolant. So it pops in right there. Just take it off to get it out of your way. Not a big deal. So here we are in the wheel well. You can see the tire has come off, and there are a number of panels here, and this bottom one right here is the one that we need to take off to get to the alternator and to the pump for the AC. So compressor. So we're going to be taking this little nut off, bolt off here, and then we're going to need to unclip this clip down here. So let's see if we can get that done. Okay, so you can see we've got that bolt out, and then we used some needle nose pliers to pry that clip out. Okay, and now we're going to try and see if we can move that back here. Of course, we don't want to break the brake line there, so maybe one other thing clips in here. Let's take a further look. So as it turns out, there is also a clip down here on the bottom. It actually looks like one more clip right there too. So we're not quite done. We're going to have 2 more clips to remove, and then we'll be good to go for taking this panel out. Okay, now we've got those other 2 clips removed, and so this should just pull down like this, and I think there is another one that holds it back. There, but we'll have enough room here to just pull it to the side and get to what we need to get to, which is right here. And there she is. Okay. So the alternator is actually right up there. As you can see, this is not convenient at all compared to some other vehicles I've taken. Okay, next step, we need to move the air compressor for the AC out of the way. The first thing, and I just did this, is you need to pull this little the wire, the power to the unit out. There is a little tab that you press that makes it come out pretty easy. If you try and pull it out without that tab, well, you could be there a while, and you're probably going to end up breaking it. Anyway, then there are 3 bolts that we take off, and then it's just going to hang free for a little bit. So let's. Okay, so just real quick, I've been able to access and remove 2 of the screws right here from that air compressor. The 3rd one I'm going to have to get under and go through the wheel well. These were 13mm bolts. You know, one thing that I'll recommend is I use to get it started. This was basically a breaker bar, you know, very long socket wrench that I can get a lot of torque on, and then after I break it, I'll go to a shorter wrench, either this one or the little one here. I'll get that 3rd bolt out, and then we'll see if we can get to that alternator. So I was wrong. That 3rd bolt is actually in the front here too. So you're able to access all 3 from the front I'm just about finished taking that out with the large socket wrench here. Another thing, just a helpful hint, is if you lean on the hose here with the little port open here, because remember we took this this hose here and pulled it off, antifreeze will spill out there. And as you can see, we've done that a little bit here. Not the end of the world, but you know, obviously we'd rather not do that. So just for quick comparison, got that third bolt out there and was able to pull away the air compressor there, which is going to give us more room to pull this alternator, which is this guy right here, out through the wheel well. So we'll get to pulling this guy out next, and we're making good progress. Actually, the next step that we have to do is we've got to remove the pulley before the alternator. So the alternator is right there, right behind it. You can see there's a pulley there. It's held in by a 16mm bolt. We're going to take that off, and then after that, just a couple quick steps. Right here on the alternator, I don't know if you can see that right there, but there's a that's a bad picture. Okay, there we go. You can see that electrical connector there. We're going to pull that out of the alternator, and then there are two bolts on the alternator. There's one just right here, and then there's one on the other side, and then we'll be able to pull that out, and we'll be able to pull the alternator out. So we're on this. So I did just pull this this pulley out. It's self-contained, so you don't really have to worry about any parts falling out. I will say that you know, nothing complicated about it, but I did have a difficult time getting enough torque on it with my small socket wrench here. The space is so tight here that I couldn't get my big wrench in there. So one thing that I do sometimes to get more torque is I just take a piece of pipe or something and put it on the end of my wrench and use that to get some more torque. So now, as you can see, we've got space here to get that alternator out. So it's just two bolts and unclipping the wire. I think we can do that pretty quick. Okay, a word about the electrical connection on the alternator. There is this clip down here, but there's also a bolt holding on another connector. No big deal. We just removed the bolt. Believe that was I used a wrench to remove that, and that was my 13-inch wrench to remove this bolt here that was holding the wire on, and then there's the connector that came off too. The connector wasn't too difficult, so I had to work at it for a second, but no big deal. So now that those are off, we'll go to the two bolts and we should have our alternator. Right, we've got the new alternator here. You can see this just spins freely. You know, works well. You can see again, this one's seized up there. Clearly had some issues. So we're going to go ahead and install this back in. So when we put it in, I've already put this this bolt back on here so that it can rest in that groove. We'll get that screwed in, and then the other bolt up here screws in. Those are the only two things that hold the alternator in. And then we'll put the electrical clip here, and we'll screw in, screw on that other wire, and then our alternator will be started. As you can hear, as you can see, the car is running much smoother with much less volume as it was before we installed the new alternator. So that fixed it, and it was a successful installation. I hope that we've given you some pointers here if you have to do this yourself. Have a great day.